Welcome back to another request video with Roblox Studio classes. This video is a follow-up on pressure plates. In this video, we'll cover how to make a pressure plate that responds only when being touched. This finishes a question posted by Robert. The video will also answer a question posted by Tub about using touched items and anchoring. To lead into these topics, we will of course review an example case with the Bunny Army. In this game, you are once again being pursued by a Bunny Army patrol. You run to the river with a bridge. However, the bridge is inactivated. It requires someone on the other side to step on the pressure plate, which activates the bridge so you can run across. Once you are safe on the other side, you thank your friend. Waiting for the best opportunity, when the bunnies are halfway across the bridge, your friend steps off the pressure plate, which shuts off the bridge and causes the bunnies to fall into the river. It's your game knowledge of knowing how to make an immediately responsive pressure plate that has saved the players from the vicious Bunny Army once again. In the previous pressure plate video, the pressure plate was activated by touching it, and then we set a timer. The timer dictated when to turn everything off, as seen in this video clip. This time, the pressure plate will only work when we are actually touching it, and it will stop working as soon as we get off of the pressure plate. I'll also throw in a little bit about changing the anchoring of a part. To modify this setup a little, I'm going to add a large sphere to the game, so that when we step on the pressure plate, the ball is going to randomly change color, and when we step off the pressure plate, the color is going to stop changing. I'm also going to put that large ball up in the air, and I'm going to anchor it. And let's pick a very creative name for our sphere. I'll call mine Gold Ball. This is the script from the earlier pressure plate video using a timer. I'm going to delete the unneeded code here. We don't need the pressure plate to flash anymore. What we need to add to our script is an event that recognizes when the pressure plate is no longer being touched. We have our first event right here that recognizes when the pressure plate is touched and then runs a function. So now let's add a second event below that recognizes when the pressure plate stops being touched. We'll keep the first group of commands the same. When we touch the pressure plate, we want the bridge part to become visible, we want to be able to touch it with Can Collide, and we want the pressure plate to turn green. Let's move the end commands after that, and the second group of commands will be added to the end touch event. To make the game recognize when the pressure plate is no longer being touched, we will write pressure plate dot TouchEnded connect, then in these parentheses, function, add another set of parentheses, and inside of this set of parentheses, type in the name of a variable that you want to represent the part that is no longer doing the touching. So I will put in touching part. Cut and paste these set of commands. These commands say that the pressure plate will turn red, the bridge part will become completely transparent, and we won't be able to step on or touch the bridge part anymore. Can Collide is false. So when the pressure plate stops being touched, it's going to connect this function and run the changes below. Now we need to add the same if-then statement like we have above and put it down here in our second set of commands. Let's tidy things up a little bit, put in our proper indentation so it looks good, put an end statement for the if-then line here. We need to make our variable names match. Touching part should have an H in this function, and in theory this should be good. So a quick recap: if the pressure plate is touched, it's going to run the first function. And in that function, it's going to look to see if the part that's touching the plate is called left foot or right foot. And if it is, then the bridge is going to appear, we can step on it, and the pressure plate will turn green. Then, if the game recognizes that the pressure plate is no longer being touched, then it's going to run the following function, and that function looks to see if the part that is no longer touching the pressure plate is either the left foot or the right foot. And if it is, then it's going to make the pressure plate turn red, the bridge part become fully transparent, and the bridge part non-collidable. We can't touch it. So let's jump back to the game now. I realize I haven't done anything with the gold sphere yet, but that's okay. Now let's see what happens when we play this game. I'll tell you there's going to be a problem. So we run over and we step on the pressure plate, and look at it, flickers red and green, red and green. What's going on? Why is it doing that? The answer is that as the player walks around, its feet touch the pressure plate and then come off the pressure plate as he walks. One foot goes back down and touches the pressure plate and then lifts off again. This touching and stop touching keeps triggering both functions in our script to run. So we need to make some modifications. How can we fix that? One possible solution no longer uses the player's feet or the pressure plate anymore. Instead, we will use a different body part of the player to do the touching, combined with adding another part above the pressure plate that is invisible. So to add the part above the pressure plate, I'm just going to duplicate the pressure plate. I'll rename it to pressure box, but doing so duplicated the script as well. So I'm going to get rid of the script in the pressure plate and keep the one in the pressure box. Now let's go ahead and make this pressure box bigger by scaling it taller. That's about a good size. It needs to be about the size of your player. Our player is going to touch this box area with his chest, and that's how we'll manage our touch event. We'll make this box completely invisible, but for now I'm just going to put it at 0.9 just for this demonstration purpose so we can see where the box is at. Let's jump back over to our script and make some additional changes. Here at the top, let's go ahead and add some variables. So first, type in local, and then a variable name for the pressure box. I will use pressure box, equals, and for me it's game.workspace.pressurebox. And then for our next variable, do local, and then a name for that gold ball that's up in the air. I'll pick gold ball, equals game.workspace.goldball. Obviously, reference these parts as you have them set up in the Explorer window. The next modification is to add a bool value inside of the gold ball here. Now, a bool value is basically a true or false value. You see its property called value that you can check and uncheck, meaning true or false. So I will go ahead and rename this to bool value just so that it's clear to me what it is. You'll see here that we'll use the bool value to set whether or not the gold ball changes color. Let's go ahead and make a variable for our bool value. Type local, and I'll type in bool value for the name, equals, and then reference it. I'm going to reference it from the point of the gold ball. So gold ball dot bool value. Next, we need to change what we're looking at being touched and touch-ended. Right now it says pressure plate. We want to have it reference the pressure box. So if we look back at our game, this here is the pressure box. That's what we're referencing. So let's go ahead and change our variable names here for these two events to pressure box. Now when the pressure box is touched, it's going to connect the following function and run it. in the next line down, our if-then statement, we need to get rid of left foot or right foot. And instead, we're going to have the game look to see if humanoid root part touches the pressure box. The humanoid root part is a special part only found within humanoids, like Roblox characters in a game. But they can also be found in NPCs that move around. So an NPC might be able to trigger a pressure plate setup if they have a humanoid root part in their makeup. But other parts or models in the game shouldn't trigger the touched event if they touch the pressure box. I'll show you where to find the humanoid root part later in the video. So when the player's humanoid root part touches the pressure box, it's going to make the bridge become visible, can collide will be true, and the pressure plate is still going to turn green. Next, we're going to unanchor our gold ball by typing gold ball dot anchored equals false. Then we're going to make use of that bool value and type in bool value equals true. Now that our bool value is true, this is where it comes together. So go down a couple lines, and now we'll type in a while loop. While bool value, then double equal signs, is equal to true, do, hit enter, then gold ball dot brick color equals brick color dot random. So as long as the bool value is true, our gold ball is going to start changing its color randomly. But we need to add in a little wait value here. So we'll type in wait, and I'll put in a wait time of 0.3 seconds. Now let's go down to our second event and change the variable name again from pressure plate to pressure box. And in our if-then line here below, we need to get rid of the left foot or right foot and instead put in humanoid root part. So this event will be triggered when the script recognizes that the pressure box is no longer being touched by the part named humanoid root part. Let's go down here to the bottom, and we're going to add a line for the bool value. Type bool value equals, and now false. Because it's false, our while loop up top here is going to stop running, and the brick color of the gold ball will stop changing color. Now back down here, let's take our gold ball and we're going to anchor it again. So gold ball dot anchored equals true. Let's go ahead and save our game and test it out. I'll tell you right now, I've made some mistakes here, mistakes that I didn't catch the first time through. So if you caught them, then you've got a really good eye for detail. Let's see how this plays out. We should be able to walk onto the pressure plate inside of the pressure box. The touched event should fire, causing the pressure plate to turn green, causing the bridge to appear, and the gold sphere in the sky to fall and change color randomly. So, how does it work? Oops. Couple mistakes here. One, when I created the pressure box, I forgot to set the can collide property to false. So I'm standing on top of the box. Second, because the script was a duplicated script and placed under the pressure box, I forgot to update the reference in the script to the pressure plate. That's why the pressure box turned green instead of the pressure plate. So let's go ahead and fix the can collide of the pressure box to false. That way we can pass through the pressure box. So back in our script, we need to change the reference of our pressure plate within the Explorer window. Originally, the pressure plate was the parent of the script, but no longer. So we'll type in game.workspace.pressureplate. Let's go ahead and save the game, then hit play and see how it all works out. Hopefully, everything works exactly as intended. Pay attention to the pressure plate, the bridge, and the ball up in the air. Look at the ball. It's hovering in the air. Anchored was turned back on. The pressure plate turns green and red when it's supposed to. The bridge is present and disappears when we're on and off the pressure plate. The ball is changing color while we stand on the pressure plate. And notice that the pressure plate isn't flickering red and green as we walk around, because the humanoid root part is constantly touching the pressure box. Now let me point out to you the humanoid root part. If you look over in the Explorer window, you'll see the player listed here. That's not the player we're looking for. We're actually looking for the character, and that's found inside or underneath the workspace. So if we click the arrow next to workspace, you can find the name of your character here, open it up, and look down at the very bottom, and here is humanoid root part. And if you left click it, you can see the outline around the chest showing you the representation of the humanoid root part, and when it touches the pressure box, that's when it triggers the touched event. And just for reference, you can see under the character here both the left foot and the right foot that we used in the previous video about triggering pressure plates with a timer. So now to finish this off, we need to change the transparency of this pressure block. Let's stop the game, select the pressure box, and go down to transparency and change it to 1. Now the pressure box is gone. It looks like we just have a pressure plate, and anyone who plays the game thinks that they're going to be stepping on the pressure plate to trigger these events, but in reality there's an invisible box there, and it's the invisible box that they're touching that triggers all of these events. Thanks for watching this video. Robert, I hope this second video gave a solution to your scripting error. And Tub, you should be able to use the script to create touched events that trigger anchored and unanchored properties for your parts. If you have a request for a topic using Roblox Studio, put it down in the comments below. I'll see you next time.